Most people believe their lives are shaped primarily by what happens around them. They think success creates confidence, money creates security, and achievement creates happiness. But what if the opposite were true? What if your feelings are not simply reactions to life? What if they are helping create the life you experience? This is the central message of Feeling is the Secret, a short but powerful book that has influenced millions of readers around the world. Its core idea is simple. The feelings you repeatedly accept as true become the blueprint from which your experiences are built. Whether you agree with that idea or not, it raises an interesting question. How much of your life is being shaped by your circumstances? And how much is being shaped by the way you feel about them? As we explore this book together, don't just think about the concepts. Think about your own life, because the real value of any book lies not in understanding it, but in applying it. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Law and its Operation. The first chapter introduces what the book considers the fundamental law behind human experience. It begins with the idea that our consciousness has two aspects: the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. The conscious mind is the part of us that reasons, analyzes, chooses, and decides. It is the voice in our head that plans, evaluates, and questions. The subconscious mind is different. It does not analyze. It does not argue. It accepts what is impressed upon it and works quietly in the background to express those impressions in our lives. According to the book, the relationship between these two parts of the mind is similar to that of a gardener and fertile soil. The conscious mind plants seeds. The subconscious mind grows them. The quality of the harvest depends largely on the nature of the seed. But here is where the book introduces its most important idea. The subconscious mind does not respond primarily to words. It responds to feeling. This means that a thought backed by strong emotion has far more influence than a thought repeated mechanically. Think about your own life for a moment. Have you ever worried intensely about something? Perhaps an interview, a financial problem, an important conversation. You may have replayed the situation in your mind dozens of times. You imagined the worst-case scenario. You felt the anxiety. You felt the fear. And over time, those feelings became more real than the event itself. The book argues that this process is constantly happening. Whether consciously or unconsciously, we are repeatedly impressing emotional states upon ourselves. Those emotional states influence our perceptions. Our perceptions influence our decisions. Our decisions influence our actions. And our actions influence our results. In other words, our feelings may be shaping our future more than we realize. One of the most challenging ideas in this chapter is that many people focus almost exclusively on changing external conditions, while paying very little attention to their internal state. They believe, when I get the promotion, I'll feel successful. When I find the right relationship, I'll feel loved. When I earn more money, I'll feel secure. The book suggests that this sequence may be backwards. Instead of waiting for life to create a feeling, we can begin cultivating the feeling first. Not by pretending, not by denying reality, but by consciously choosing which emotional states deserve our attention. Because whatever feeling dominates our inner world eventually influences the outer world we experience. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, what feeling has dominated your life recently? Stress, fear, hope, gratitude, confidence, frustration? Because according to this chapter, the answer to that question may be more important than any goal you've written down. The chapter concludes with a powerful reminder. We may not control every circumstance in life, but we do have influence over the feelings we repeatedly nurture. And those feelings have consequences, visible and invisible, immediate and long-term. Whether we realize it or not, we are constantly planting seeds. The question is, what kind of harvest are those seeds creating? Chapter 2. Sleep. The second chapter focuses on something every one of us does every day: sleep. At first glance, this chapter seems surprisingly simple, but it contains one of the most practical teachings in the entire book. The idea is that the moments before sleep are especially important because the conscious mind becomes quieter and the subconscious mind becomes more receptive. Think about how most people end their day. They replay arguments. They worry about money. They think about unfinished tasks. They relive embarrassing moments. They imagine problems that haven't even happened yet. Then they carry those feelings into sleep. Night after night, week after week, year after year. According to the book, this habit may be shaping far more of our lives than we realize. Why? Because whatever emotional state dominates the mind before sleep continues influencing the subconscious during the night. The author describes sleep as a doorway, a transition point between conscious effort and subconscious activity. And what we carry through that doorway matters. Imagine two people ending their day. The first spends the evening focused entirely on problems. Every thought reinforces fear, frustration, and limitation. The second spends a few quiet minutes imagining a future in which things are already moving in the right direction. Not perfectly, not magically, simply better. They imagine a successful outcome, a healed relationship, a financial breakthrough, improved health. Most importantly, they focus on the feeling associated with that outcome: relief, gratitude, confidence, peace. Which person is planting the more empowering seed? This is the question the chapter asks us to consider. The book recommends a practice often called the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Before falling asleep, imagine a short scene that would naturally occur if your desire had already become reality. Keep it simple. Perhaps someone congratulates you. Perhaps you feel healthy and energetic. Perhaps you feel financially secure. The details are less important than the emotion. The goal is not visualization for its own sake. The goal is to experience the feeling. Because feeling is what impresses the subconscious mind. One reason this chapter resonates with so many readers is that it transforms sleep from a passive activity into a creative opportunity. Instead of ending the day as a victim of circumstances, you end the day consciously choosing the emotional state you wish to cultivate. This does not guarantee instant results. The book never suggests that life changes overnight, but it does suggest that our nightly emotional habits matter. And over time, those habits can influence the direction of our lives. Before moving to the next chapter, consider this question: what feeling do you usually carry into sleep? And if that feeling remained unchanged for the next year, where might it lead you? Chapter 3. Prayer. When most people hear the word prayer, they immediately think of asking for help, asking for guidance, asking for healing, asking for change, but this chapter introduces a very different perspective. According to the book, prayer is not primarily about asking for what you do not have. It is about experiencing the feeling of already having received it. At first, this idea may seem unusual. After all, how can you feel something is already yours when your circumstances suggest otherwise? The answer lies in understanding the difference between wanting and experiencing. Think about it this way. Imagine someone who desperately wants confidence. Every day they think about becoming confident. They read books about confidence. They watch videos about confidence. They talk about confidence. But deep down, they continue feeling inadequate. In this situation, what is influencing their daily experience? The desire for confidence or the feeling of inadequacy? According to the book, the feeling will always have the stronger influence. This is why prayer, in its deepest sense, is not about repeating words. It is about changing states, moving from fear to faith, from worry to trust, from lack to abundance, from doubt to confidence. The book suggests asking a simple question. How would I feel if this were already true? Not tomorrow, not next year, right now. How would you feel if your greatest challenge were already resolved? How would you feel if the opportunity you desire had already arrived? How would you feel if your future was already moving in the direction you hope for? Most people immediately think of external results, but this chapter encourages us to focus on the internal experience first, because the internal experience is available now. You can choose gratitude now. You can choose peace now. You can choose hope now. And those choices influence the quality of your life long before circumstances begin to change. One of the most valuable lessons in this chapter is that prayer is less about convincing the universe to give you something, and more about aligning yourself with the emotional state you wish to experience. When viewed through this lens, prayer becomes a daily practice of inner transformation. Not a request, but a rehearsal. Not an act of desperation, but an act of trust. And over time, those emotional rehearsals begin influencing the way you think, act, and respond to life. Before moving on, take a moment and ask yourself, what emotional state have I been practicing most often? And is it helping me move toward the life I want to create? Chapter 4. Spirit Feeling. The final chapter takes us beyond techniques and practices and moves into a deeper understanding of who we are. Throughout the book, we have explored the idea that feelings influence experience. Now the book asks an even bigger question. What if feeling is not just an emotion? What if it is one of the most powerful creative forces available to us? This chapter suggests that every human being is constantly expressing a state of being. Whether consciously or unconsciously, we are always identifying with something, strong or weak, confident or insecure, abundant or lacking, hopeful or discouraged. And over time, these identities become emotional habits. The problem is that many people become so familiar with their emotional habits that they stop questioning them. A person may spend years identifying as unlucky. Another may identify as anxious. Another may identify as not good enough. These identities become so familiar that they begin feeling like facts. But the book reminds us that feelings are not permanent. States can change. Perspectives can change. Identities can change. And when inner states change, new possibilities begin to emerge. Think about your own life. Have you ever gone through a period when everything seemed difficult? Then suddenly something shifted. The circumstances may not have changed immediately, but your attitude changed. Your outlook changed. Your energy changed. And because of that, your actions changed. The opportunities you noticed changed. The conversations you had changed. The decisions you made changed. In many cases, the external transformation began with an internal shift. This chapter encourages us to become more conscious of the states we occupy, not because we should ignore reality, but because we should recognize our influence over it. Every day we have the opportunity to choose which qualities we strengthen. Patience, gratitude, courage, confidence, and compassion, peace. The more we practice these qualities, the more natural they become. And the more natural they become, the more they influence the way we experience life. Perhaps the greatest message of this chapter is this: you are not permanently defined by your current circumstances. You are not permanently defined by your past. You are not permanently defined by the feelings you have practiced until now. At any moment, you can begin cultivating a different inner state, and that new state can become the foundation for a different future. Conclusion. As we reach the end of this remarkable book, we are left with a simple but profound idea. The quality of our lives may be influenced far more by our inner world than we realize. Throughout the book, one message appears again and again. Our feelings matter, not because they magically control reality, but because they influence the way we think, the way we perceive, the way we decide, the way we act, and ultimately, the results we create. The book invites us to stop living entirely from circumstance and start paying attention to state. Instead of asking, "What is happening to me?" we can begin asking, "What am I repeatedly feeling?" Because the feelings we rehearse today may become the experiences we live tomorrow. If you enjoyed this summary and found value in these ideas, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Inner Drive. It helps the channel reach more people who are looking for wisdom, clarity, and personal growth through great books. And if one idea from this summary stood out to you, share it in the comments below. I'd love to hear your biggest takeaway.